Today is the day that you will remember for a very long time. But if you handle it right, you will have a chance to forget it.
Imagine someone telling you this. You hear that, and I'm sure your brain will stop for a second because this isn't something you ever expect to hear, especially not while you are just doing your job.
So, exactly. Imagine this, it's Christmas Eve, you're at the airport, nothing unusual, everything you would expect. People are stressed, flights are delayed, and honestly, everyone just wants to get home quickly.
And then, out of the blue, from nowhere that you'd ever expect, a stranger walks up to you, hands you an earpiece, and walks away. No explanation.
And suddenly, nothing feels normal anymore because you're being told what to do. But interestingly, the one thing you're not allowed to do is act.
Exactly. No asking for help. You cannot call anyone. You just have to follow instructions. Or people could get hurt.
So, this is exactly where we're taking you to a story that's about pressure, about control, and exactly what happens when doing nothing is the one thing that you have to do.
And the biggest decision of your life. Hello, listeners. You're listening to Oops, We Binged It Again. I'm Mukta, here together with my daughter Nandini.
And as always, every week we talk about a show or a movie that we've watched and loved. What worked about it, what didn't work, and whether we think it's worth your time.
And as we always say, listeners, we'll keep it spoiler free for you. We'll ensure it is very easy to follow. And we will give you just enough detail to help you decide what to watch next.
Exactly. And today we're talking about Carry On. This is Netflix's very new, intense airport thriller, where, like I said, a very nice, comfy Christmas, it quickly turns into a Christmas that, let's just say, I don't think you'll ever forget.
And did you realize we just moved from Disney back to Netflix?
Back to our home.
So, listeners, I'm sure you'd agree. Most of us, we start a work day thinking that everything we have to get done is sorted in our head, in the sense we have our plans in our head already. We know we have to answer emails and we've got to meet people. We have a few meetings that we've got to take care of. So it's like a mental checklist that we have, and we think everything is laid out. So it's well planned.
And can I just say, somehow I feel like there's always more to do than there is time to do it, because we're sort of like buried in action plans, checklists, there are meetings to go to, there are tasks to finish. And if someone from work is listening, I love it, but I'm just saying there's a lot to do.
I didn't say anything. So, but imagine a day, listeners, when all of this, despite all your planning, things still plan to go upside down. All your plans, all your checklists, I don't know where they are now anymore. And all you can do at that time is think on your feet. Quick, quick, quick.
But this is not your usual thinking on the feet that you have to do every day. This is a very different type of thinking on your feet, trust me. And that is exactly where Carry On takes us. It's a holiday shift at the airport. There is one man, there is a weird, impossible order, and then there is no way out. So, here's the setup for you. At first, Carry On, it feels like it could be any holiday movie, a comfy Christmas movie. But, like I said, that quickly changes. So, it's Christmas Eve at one of the busiest airports in America. People are rushing, like I said, waiting, hoping to get home in time for the dinner, the presents, to see family after a long time. And right in the middle of all of that airport chaos, we meet Ethan Kopek. Who is Ethan Kopek? He is obviously the main character in this story and a TSA agent. TSA being Transportation Security Administration. Now, in plain and simple words, Ethan, day to day, is responsible for scanning people, making sure that the airport security and everything is under control. But what does Ethan want? Ethan wants a promotion. Now, he doesn't want to be doing this every single day. What he wants is to be scanning bags. Now, if you remember, when we go to the airport, we have to get our carry-on, our sort of cabin luggage scanned. And it's the usual stress, like take off your jackets, take off your shoes, take off your laptops, everything. That's exactly what Ethan wants to do. So he gets the promotion that he so desperately wanted.
And Nandi, remember, I always say this every day, every time when there is an occasion, and I say, careful what you wish for.
That's her favorite line.
And honestly, can you not see how beautifully it blends in with the movie?
Honestly.
It feels as if it was literally written for Ethan. So Ethan, as you said, gets the recognition he had always wanted. He wanted to sit at the baggage scan line, and he gets it. But perhaps not in the way he had ever hoped. He gets this role by chance. He's helped by his friend. And then he starts his usual role. He sits there, and then every bag passes through, and he can call out if there's an anomaly. I'm sure all of us can relate to that. And then when this stranger hands the earpiece to him from nowhere, as we had mentioned earlier, he gets up to put it in the lost and found box or counter. And before he could do that, he receives an anonymous text on his mobile phone asking him to wear the earpiece right then. And everything changes just in a split second.
Honestly, from that moment on, you know it's not your usual airport Christmas thriller. This thrill starts immediately, and there's immense tension. Imagine there's as soon as he puts the earpiece on, the stranger behind this earpiece, he starts talking into Ethan's ear. And this stranger, he's very cold, oddly a very weird kind of guy. He calls himself a freelance facilitator. Kind of a funny title I've never heard before.
Oh, it was.
But it's just that guy's fancy way of saying he knows how to control people. You remember, Mum, there's a line there as well about what he says about controlling. What was it?
I think he uses a very chilling statement. He says there are only two types of people in this world. The one set that controls and the other that listens.
Exactly. And so you can only imagine the kind of guy he is. What does he tell Ethan? He says, Ethan, I'm giving you clear instructions. And his major ask is that Ethan should not raise any questions, any alarms about a carry-on baggage that has a red ribbon on it. He says, Ethan, just let that bag pass and your job is done. I mean, sounds simple enough, but how would you have reacted, Mom?
Oh my God, I would have been scared. I would have started crying there. But I think, you know what, I don't really know. I don't know how would have I reacted.
Right? It's an impossible kind of situation.
Honestly, but when I compare that to how Ethan had reacted, I think not even remotely as clever. So even though, listeners, Ethan is trapped now, he stays sharp. So we've seen him watch very carefully, very observant. He's trying to connect dots. He stays very alert, while he's also trying to follow orders that are being fed into his ear, into his head each minute, each second. So, guys, whether he fails or not during this instruction time is for you to find out. Trust me, this is not your usual movie. We were surprised. I'm sure even you'd be.
Literally. But remember, there were times where that earpiece in his ear would make us so angry. Like, especially when Ethan was sort of asked to go as normal about his day. And then the guy behind the earpiece said, Ethan, go and have lunch with your girlfriend Nora as per usual. So he goes down, sits with Nora, but the voice is still in his ear. I mean, he's being followed, he's being watched. That guy's literally speaking into his ear.
And I think I've become very poetic in this movie. I was so reminded of that song. Every move you make, every step you take, we'll be watching you.
Literally, that is such an excellent way to put it, because that's exactly what it is. I mean, that helplessness that Ethan had, that was unreal. It was painful to watch. I mean, I don't think I would have been able to stay as calm as he did, like you were mentioning.
I know. And the film throws a twist after a twist after a twist. So honestly, you can just not sit for a second and think, you know what, maybe next time. Every time with Ethan's smartness, you know, we are a little relieved saying, oh, finally he's figured something out. And then it changes.
Yeah.
So honestly, for me, the thrill peaked when the bag was somehow randomly selected for a second scan.
Oh.
And you remember how our hearts were racing? every minute was us biting our nails.
Literally.
And you remember when this colleague of his, he was
Ethan's.
looking at him, yeah,
Yeah.
Ethan's colleague. He comes to him and says, "You know what? I know there's something wrong with you, and I will find it out."
Honestly, don't you remember at that time we were like to this colleague, we were like, please find out what it is because he needs you. Because the worst part about all of this is it's just Ethan that knows what's going on.
I know no one around him actually knew what he was actually doing and what he was going through. To be honest.
Exactly, and that's what he needed, someone to find out and someone to help him. But like we said, some movies, as I'm sure you would agree, listeners, they build rather slowly. But this one, it immediately dives into the thrill. So, like I said, Carry On gives you those happy vibes for, I guess, what, 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
And then suddenly you're literally holding your breath. I mean, and I think that immediate shift really hooked me. Because one moment, Ethan's just hoping for a promotion, like we all do. And the next, he's being watched, he's being tracked, but mostly just being threatened.
I don't want such a promotion
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
I personally like the speed with which it moves, listeners, to the climax and to the ending. Throughout, extremely smart thinking. We're so craving to tell you all about it because we know you'd be as impressed as we were.
Honestly.
But we cannot. So, all we can do, helplessly, is tell you nothing.
That is very smart, genuinely. But you know what I also really, really liked about that movie is it's less character driven and it's a lot more thrill driven.
I agree.
Because if you recall, I don't think we ever really knew who this freelance facilitator was or what his name was or the gang.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah,
don't recall the
now
name.
that you say, exactly, yes.
I've been trying to make it easy for myself to explain the story. And whenever I want to mention this guy, I'm like, oh, the freelance facilitator, because I don't remember his name. Because literally, all the names I think we knew were just Ethan, the main guy, and his girlfriend, Nora. And this just tells you how much this story is focused on the plot rather than the cast.
An interesting thing here now, listeners, is Ethan, who had always wanted to also join the police department as a detective. So, just to tell you, just to give you a bit of background and context, he never actually had expected himself to be working as a TSA. So, as a TSA agent or an officer, he always had wanted to be in the police department as a detective. But he had failed the test. I think he failed the lie detector, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So he had kind of come to terms with it, and I remember he made a very emotional statement saying dreams have an expiry date. But if you watch the movie, you'll find, listeners, that he has proven so well that he always deserved to be a police detective. And I think I totally agree with him later when he says, another emotional statement, the expiry dates for the dreams can be renewed too.
Oh, that was a beautiful statement.
was.
I mean, it literally, this movie, it started at a rather nice pace, immediately took off, and then towards the end had a very nice, calming landing, almost like a flight. And so, with all that said, I mean, who is this movie really for? I think personally, I'd say if you listeners like thrillers that keep things really simple yet pacing, quick, this one's for you.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not for people expecting big explosions, chase scenes, or action every 5 minutes. It's a very different type of thrill, as you would have probably guessed by now. And I just really liked that sort of countdown feeling that we had in this. There was that, it almost seemed like a clock ticking down and like a time bomb.
Exactly.
It's very, very, very nice movie.
And also, listeners, if you've ever had a really stressful day at work, the kind where you're just pretending everything is fine and while you're still handling 10 things at once.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe a billion.
Or like 20 billion, yeah.
See, I was waiting for that, Nandini. Listeners, you'll surely connect with Ethan. So this movie is for people who really like smart characters. People who have that bit of detective in their head all the time, who can notice things. And Ethan in this movie is shown to be very quiet but very, very alert. You can see the scare on his face. So it's not that he's not scared and he's a superhero. No, he's scared, but he's focused at the same time. So if I had to give it a rating, I would say 9. No unnecessary twists, no flashy distractions, just a good, clean, entertaining thriller.
Oh, definitely, definitely. But I think personally, I would maybe give it an 8.
And why?
I knew that was coming. I think in its own right, it was a very, very good thriller. Like I've said, I really don't have much points against it. But sometimes it felt a bit unrealistic. Like How would a bag like that even make it past like every single checkpoint? And then if you think about it, the villain's plan, I guess, in this movie was just almost too perfect. There was no problem. There was just everything was working out perfectly for them.
No, I hear you. I agree. The plan did maybe sound looked too perfect,
Hmm.
but if you remember, Nandi, there were times when it actually did not work. So you remember
Yeah.
this freelance facilitator? We don't know the name, so
Yeah.
so be it. So I think he had gotten angry at times too because of things that did not go as
Mm,
planned.
you're right. Yeah. No, but I think all things considered, I definitely recommend watching this movie, and we'd definitely want to hear from you what you thought about it as well.
So, listeners, that was Carry On for you. A thriller that does not shout. It's not flashy. And still somehow keeps you tense the entire time. And if you've already watched it, then tell us if your palms were as sweaty as ours.
Yes.
And if you haven't yet, do not worry. We have already kept the spoiler free for you, so go give it a shot. And next week, we're taking a sharp turn into something way too real, a documentary that might make you put your phone down for a second. We did, trust us.
More than a second, I would say.
I
Oh my
swear.
God.
To this date, I am reminded of it. When
Literally.
I pick my phone up, I open something, some app, some scrolling. Ah, I'm reminded of that
The
documentary.
documentary, yeah. I mean, it will definitely make you think about who's watching you while you scroll, because we're talking about a documentary that exposes just how much power social media has over our minds, our moods, and I'm sure you'd agree, our choices. So, if Carry On, the movie, made you uncomfortable about being watched in an airport setting, this documentary, the one we're going to be talking about, will make you rethink being watched everywhere else. So do join us the next time when I'm sure you would agree the enemy is not the stranger in a random crowd giving you an earpiece. It's the algorithm in your phones, your laptops, your iPads, everything.
So, see you soon. And in the meantime, maybe turn off your notifications and think before you scroll endlessly.